YouTube, what up? Welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Watts, and I'm Watts. Today, we're talking about the work rate and how drastically the work rate has dropped in the WWE and how that contributes to a lot of botches and contributes to a lot of people not knowing their stuff, for lack of a better term. So, earlier this week or 2 weeks ago, something of that nature, I was watching Seth Rollins. I think he was on the Impulsive podcast, and he was talking about the work rate of these newer WWE superstars and the fact that he's happy that there's a lot more time off to go spend with their families and stuff like that, but sometimes the work rate and the quality of matches can drop tremendously due to the fact that there's not a lot of outlets anymore for them to practice this stuff. Now, I follow a couple people that's in WWE on Instagram, and it looks like Natty and Tyson Kidd, they had like a little heart dungeon of their own, and sometimes you'll see like an Angelo Dawkins there, sometimes you'll see a B-Fab, and you see a lot of notable names and a lot of notable faces that go when they go get work with Natalia and stuff, or TJ, which is Tyson Kidd, which is cool because that's really the only way to hone your skills, because there's not a lot of people that's going to go all the way to the performance center if they're not in, they don't live in Florida, or they're not going to go to WWE headquarters in Connecticut and go practice and whatnot. Personally, due to the fact that now there's not a lot of house shows, because back years ago, Vince McMahon had them working like dogs. He didn't give a damn. He had them on the road 330 days a year. Like, they was on the road a lot, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But now, with Triple H's regime, there's a lot less house shows. There's a lot less opportunities for even the jobbers to work and, make moves and try to see if they can get on the card. Like, yeah, you got the occasional dark matches, the main event, or the speed title and all of that. You got those events and before the match, but there's not a lot of opportunities to really hone your skills. And you know what they say? They say iron sharpens iron, and that's why you should always be ready so that you don't gotta get ready. But with the fact that a lot of people that's in the WWE now, they're getting guaranteed contracts, and they're seeing a lot of money young. The urgency to get on a card, urgency to get paid is a lot lower than it was years ago. And now it's even being shown with the superstars, like the main eventers, like the people that's going to be on WWE every single week. You're seeing a lot more botches from them too, and that's because they're not getting in there as often. They'll recite the match maybe one or two times, like an hour before the match starts, or an hour before the show starts, bell time and stuff like that. So there's not a lot of opportunities to really hone your skills for real. And I feel like a lot of matches have went down in quality because of this. Seth Rollins mentioned that he would look forward to going to house shows and doing these things so that he could practice the moves, he could practice the promos, because once it's a different animal once you get to the main roster. When you're in NXT, it's mandatory to go practice. It's mandatory to go hit the gym and go hit the weights. It's mandatory that they go over their lines, go over their scripts, and they doing promo classes and stuff like that. Once you get to the main roster, it's a different animal. You don't got people breathing down your throat 24/7. You just gotta make sure that you know your shit come Monday, come Friday for SmackDown and Raw. PLEs, you better come prepared and you better know what you're doing. But now you don't see that anymore as much as you used to. Now it's like, all right, just be here at 2 p.m. to go over lines and go over promos and stuff like that. Probably get like a little couple minutes in the ring to make something happen. And I feel like that's not nearly enough time when you're not practicing enough. If you're only obligated to come to a show once or twice a week and you're not practicing in between that time, yeah, once you wrestle long enough, it becomes second nature, and the little cues and whatnot. But it's easy to make mistakes when you're not practicing it as often, you know. And the fact that the work rate has dropped, and a lot of people are either a comfortable with what they're doing and catering, or they're not comfortable, that also lowers the morale of the entire roster as well. When you see certain guys getting away with whatever they're getting away with, being able to come like every 4 months they show up, and they're not really communicating with their opponents or people that they got to work with, that lowers the morale, and that destroys the work rate. And this is not something that we used to see. Like, I'm not a Vince McMahon guy at all, but this is not something that you used to see back then. Everybody knew their stuff, and it was a lot less opportunities to botch, is what I'm saying. Because we've seen so many botches over the last year or so, that's gotten people injured. Liv Morgan is on the shelf. Like, in no way, shape, or form I'm blaming people for other superstars getting injured, but this wouldn't happen as often, I don't think, if they were able to practice more, or it was mandatory that they practice the match for at least 30 minutes, or they implement certain things that will help you avoid these situations. And there's not enough workhorses anymore, because like they said, a lot of these guys, they get the NIL deals, and that's just about it. It's guaranteed bread. All you have to do is show up to the PC, and show up to the PC. Then they get moved up to the main roster. A lot of these people don't really love wrestling that much. You're getting athletes that their aspiration was to become an athlete in the sport that they're in, but for one reason or the other, it just doesn't happen. Uh, there's so many things that goes into this, and it's a clash, because then you got the indie people who has put their blood, sweat, and tears on the line for the sport, and then you got the people who come into the WWE from college that never really cared too much, probably followed the product a little bit while they was young, but they have to get acclimated, and then there's a lot of nurturing that goes into that. And while you're nurturing them, you're not giving the people who've been wrestling on indie circuits for the longest time, you're not really giving them the type of attention that they need. So it's so many things that could decrease the work rate that needs to change in WWE, and I truly hope that it does soon, because there's a lot of things going on right now that shouldn't be going on. But that's just me. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Thank you for continuing to help grow the channel. First and last time listeners, I appreciate you guys too. Ladies and gentlemen, I am out. Peace.